There is a calculated attack on people that come against the science. You say, oh, our community wouldn't do that. Well, wake up. Your community does it. This community, the scientific community, is cutting off James Tour from scientific funding for my saying exactly what I'm saying now. And you may think yourself so tolerable and so wonderful that you would never do that. But that's exactly what the community is doing. If this film goes out and you post this film and they hear a bunch of scientists sitting around speaking, bad-mouthing their community like this, you're gonna see people rise up and say, the heck with that community. We're gonna vote people in office that are gonna cut out your stinking research funds. There is a distrust of scientists just like us from that community, and it is warranted based on some of the claims that we have made. I feel like a child torn between a mother and father who are getting a divorce. Mm-hmm. I am in both of these communities. Mm-hmm. And I feel that this community is sitting here as if we really know what we're doing, and that other community is all wrong. The reason I think we need to look to ourselves as scientists, we need to look to ourselves. To say it's Ken Ham, it's that community, it's all about them, it's all their problem, and we know what's right, I think is a prescription for disaster. I sit between Christians and Jews all the time, and I love both communities, and I'm from both communities. And it bothers me when one community starts firing at the other and the other at the one. This is exactly what's happening here, I think. We're all sitting around, oh, it's terrible what's happening. One of the reasons for the distrust from that community toward people like us is meetings just like this, where we sit around and act as if we really know stuff and we've got this thing right. I've written 2 articles on origin of life. Nobody has contested the scientific claims. It has nothing to do with God. It's all about life's origin based on the science. On my website, jmtour.com, there's a tab on the right called Personal Topics. You go to Evolution Creation. I cite both of those articles there, and I'm coming out with a 3rd article for a moratorium on origin of life research because there's so many lies in it. You make a little sort of thing and you extrapolate to the point where we really know where life came from, to the point that everybody thinks scientists know. Scientists are utterly clueless. And because we lie, because scientists lie with their projections, and they have deceived generation after generation, and they've promised delivery based upon this, and nothing has come in 66 years, 2/3 of a century since Miller-Urey. Nothing has come because they're all wrong on this thing. We come out with...
I mean, I said legitimately.
Yeah.
Make the claim that they're all wrong.
All right, would you let me finish? And then you can ask.
Yeah.
But one of the reasons we know they're all wrong is because it's not leading anywhere. There's nothing that, okay, so, but because when they say we have made a protocell, we've made a protocell. Well, what is that? That is a lipid bilayer, that is a liposome. To have a cell, you have to have ionic membranes that are going to open that up. You need stuff inside it. You need to have proteins expressed all over this surface. You change the structure of one of them. Just one hexamer of mannose. One mannose hexamer can have over 1 trillion arrangements. Any one of these is wrong, that cell dies. None of this complexity is addressed, and they complain and they suggest they have a path to the origin of life. The projections that they make based on a small result. There is a distrust of scientists just like us from that community, and it is warranted based on some of the claims that we have made. We just heard the rabbi say in 1919, a group of 80 scientists said that they should restrict immigration of certain types of people. So what do we do today? A group of 80 scientists petition the government and we go, whoa, they must be right. There's 80 scientists. 80 scientists can be very, very wrong about stuff. And we totally dismiss an organization. I can tell you what's happened to me because of my stance based solely upon the science that's been written based on origin of life. There is a calculated attack on people that come against the science. You say, oh, our community wouldn't do that? Well, wake up. Your community does it. I signed a statement in 2001 that says that we are skeptical of random mutation and and natural selection to account for the complexity of life. That came to me in a quick email. I signed that. I said, sure, I can agree with that. And as a result of that, I have been excluded from the National Academy of Science. This is the first time I'm saying it on record. And you say, how do I know? Because when I applied, they said to me, you will never get in the National Academy. I said, I've done as much as people getting in. You know what they said to me? You've done twice as much as people getting in. I have over 650 publications. I have lots of nature, lots of science publications. And I'm not in. Because they have said to me, you will not get in because you signed that statement. Now, I did an exhaustive study talking to geneticists and biologists, explain to me evolution. Now they don't even believe in random mutation and natural selection accounting for the complexity of life. They've switched to neutral drift, which is the change from a parent to a child, and they've switched to universal common descent. I said, well, why don't you then sign that statement with me? It is self-selecting. The National Academy is self-selecting. And so they keep people that are going to bring a contrary view to this. And this is our great society that's, oh, we're right and that other 100 million people are wrong. No doubt. Why they distrust this community? Because we have little gatherings like this. And we come against them as if they're a bunch of blithering idiots. And they're not. I feel like a child torn between a mother and father who are fighting in a divorce here. And I'm like saying, would you guys just get along? If you would understand where they're coming from, if you would tell them the truth, this is what we know. This is our conjecture based on what we know. Rather than saying, this is what we know and that's the way it is, and if you argue with it, you're wrong because 80 scientists agree with this, or 99% of the National Academy. That 1% is old guys who got in there before this was an issue, and as soon as they die off, you will have complete unanimity in the National Academy of Science because the National Academy of Science is self-selecting. So this is what we're doing. This is an exact representation of what the scientific community is, and it's not going to get any better at this rate. I am calling for peace here. I am calling for an understanding here why these people doubt scientists. Why is this? Because we sit around like we in the Northeast in Boston and we really understand this and those idiots in the South don't understand this. Well, they're not stupid. Those Texas oil men have made a lot of money, not because they're stupid. You go out and try to make a lot of money. Go ahead, give it a try. It's not easy. They're not stupid, but when you start projecting, when our community starts projecting that we know something and we are sure of it and we really don't know for sure, then it's a real problem. Some of the same people that were pushing global warming were 30 years ago, I know them, were pushing global cooling. The same people. So, of course, the community is going to have distrust here. What can I believe? You can't just jerk them around like this. You have to say, this is what we know about science, and this is our conjecture based on this. This is not fact. This is a theory of evolution, and there are real problems with evolution. And I listed on my website. I'm not saying that evolution is wrong. I can't prove that. How can I prove evolution is wrong? But what I can say is that you look at Project ENCODE, where they're finding in 98.5% of the human DNA that used to be called junk DNA, which is now called intergenic DNA more accurately, we're finding lots of protein coding genes that build the body that are unique, not in the chimpanzee, but to humans. Same with orphan genes. And at first they said, well, there's only 100 or so of those. Now there's thousands. Every year there's more thousands being added. So you have to account for this. So, of course, and I say exactly on my website, you shouldn't stop teaching evolution in school, but maybe what you want to do is teach universal common descent and ENCODE and orphan genes, that they're still building a body of evidence, and there's problems with this. It's not a fact yet. And that's what happens to the community, and you get isolation. And I love both of these communities, and I feel a part. But this community, the scientific community, is cutting off James Tour from scientific funding for my saying exactly what I'm saying now. And you may think yourself so tolerant and so wonderful that you would never do that. But that's exactly what the community is doing. I am coming out and saying, hey guys, there are problems here. Let's not project above what we have, and let's embrace this community. If we would just reach out, and I go into churches and I speak, And I try to reason with them. The scientific community, I say, they don't hate you. They don't hate you. They're not looking to destroy you. This is the sense that they get. And you sit in the community, think about this. If they had heard this conversation, if this film goes out and you post this film and they hear a bunch of scientists sitting around speaking, bad-mouthing their community like this, you're gonna see people rise up and say, the heck with that community. We're gonna vote people in office that are gonna cut out your stinking research funds. You want to treat us like that? We'll cut out your research funds, and that's exactly what they're coming against. It's because of what we say. It's because of what we do that we alienate this community, and they'll vote en masse. And they'll put people in office that don't support us anymore. And we'll be the ones responsible for it because we've shot this thing down. We've shot ourselves in the foot. We're the ones who've done it. Now, to your question, I don't know that they're all wrong. That I misspoke. But what I can say in all my articles, I just say, you can't claim this, you can't claim this. You have extrapolated this to the understanding of how you know life has originated when you are not even close. You can't make the nucleic acid. You can't make the chiral carbohydrates. You can't make the chiral proteins. And then you want to have all these things assembled. And so from the chemical side, they're clueless. From the assembly side, there's very few people in the world that know how to build molecules and know how to assemble them into working systems. But by what I mean very few, it's less than about 25 people in the world. I happen to be among that unique group that makes molecules and then assembles them into a functioning system. Both of those are the two areas within origin of life. Both of those systems are so way behind what they have projected. I will have another article, I'd be glad to send you a preprint, where I'm calling for this moratorium, where I spell it out and I show example after example of the claim that was made based on what they found scientifically. So I hope I answered your question.
Fully associate with what Jim just said. I should mention that I'm also a signatory of that particular petition that's got him into trouble. And I've been trying in a more delicate way to make the same points around here. I think that you're using this term evolution in different ways. I mean, he makes the point that I think we can justify if you limit the word evolution to mean common descent. But the word evolution also carries a connotation that, unless you make it very clear what you're talking about, can also mean just evolution by Darwin methods, by natural selection acting on random mutations in which there is no really solid good evidence. And as he points out, the evolutionists themselves have now rejected it. So I think we have to be very careful in using our language, and as Jim said, we have to be very precise as scientists to distinguish between what we are projecting and what we actually know. So I am in full support of what Jim just said.